In this exercise, we will see our first mitigation strategy, which includes simulating police actions at node 2062 from 8 and 10 p.m. to 9 p.m. The main aim is to prevent vehicles approaching the stadium from the south during that time. So to do so, we will create a traffic strategy comprising specific policies. This strategy can use one of two different traffic policies to simulate police actions. The forced turn, which requires vehicles to take an alternate turn, and the turn closure, which prevents vehicles from taking a turn. We will apply turn closure to the two turns indicated here. Let's now create the traffic management strategy. To create the traffic management strategy, we need to go on the project, right-click, New, Traffic Management, and select the strategy. A new strategy object is added to the project folder under Traffic Management. I will double-click on it and rename this strategy Post Match. Then I will right-click on this object and I will create a new policy. A new policy that I will name it as Policy 1 Police. And that this is because a police officer will stand here and will try to redirect the traffic from following the north path to the other directions. For condition, I will select time because this policy will be applied from 8 and 10 p.m. and it will last for 50 minutes. Then I will press OK. Now it's time to add the turn closures. To add new turn closures, I will need to right-click on the policy object and from the drop-down menu of the traffic management actions, I will select the turn closure action. Now I will double-click on this action, I will move the dialog on the side, and then I will select from which section I want this traffic management strategy to be applied. So from section here to section 925 with a visibility distance of 50 meters. This means that vehicles that they drive from the south towards the north 50 meters before they reach the beginning of this turn, they will be informed that they need to choose another path to reach their destination. In my dialog, I can see that I have more options of which specific origin lanes may be closed that I can activate, or if I want to influence the path costs after the vehicles are redirected to follow another path, or filter by vehicles that come from a specific origin or they go to a specific destination and they are a specific vehicle class. And of course, I can apply percentage of compliance of the drivers. I will press OK, and then I will create another one policy of turn closure so that I can apply the same for the east-north bound turn. From section, I will click on the Aimsun Next UI to section 925. The visibility distance will be 50 meters, and then I will just press OK. So this way, I have created two turn closures that I redirect traffic when they reach 50 meters before the node to follow alternative paths. Now it is time to activate the strategy. So this strategy has been created, but I need to activate this strategy on the dynamic scenario for that specific simulation. So I will go on my scenarios, on the dynamic scenario base. I will double click, I will click the strategies and conditions tab. I will tick the strategy post match, and then I will click OK. Then I will go on the experiment and I will create a copy of this experiment. I will select the experiment, drag and drop on the scenario object. Here I will receive a question which says, do you want to keep result replication seeds? I will apply yes. So here I can see that I have another copy of the experiment with the replication assigned to it. Now I will double-click on the new experiment and I will change the name. I will click on the tab Policies and I will activate the Policy 1 Police and then click OK. I will double-click on the replication and I will rename it on rep policies. And now I will run the simulation to view the effect of the turn closure policies. I will select Run Animated Simulation, Autorun. I will pause the simulation and I will set up the simulation to stop at 8 and 9 p.m. Fast forward the simulation and reaches 8 and 9 p.m. I already know that the strategy will be applied at 8 and 10 p.m. So I will play the simulation and now I will stop the simulation at 8 and 10 and I will see that two turn closures have been applied already. One for the east northbound direction and the other one for the northbound direction. I will select the view mode traffic management affected, which has been already created, to see marked in red the vehicles affected by the policies. We can see that, as desired, none are turning onto the section leading to the stadium entrance. So in red are all the vehicles that their initial path was to cross this section, the section 925, and follow and reach their destination. Now they have redirected and they will follow alternate paths, if they exist, to reach their destination. It's always good to apply a new view mode, which is called lost vehicles or missed turns view mode, so that you can see how many of the vehicles will not find an alternate paths to reach their initial destination. So here I can see that there's a lot of congestion on the northbound direction on this link, and also long queues are being formed during the simulation. So the result is that this strategy alone is not sufficient. Now let's continue to the exercise number 3, which is related to the post-match strategy with variable method signs. If you notice, in the network there are two variable method sign objects, one on the east and the other one on the west. These variable method signs are installed there to warn drivers about congestion in the network and enable them to avoid this kind of congestion. In this strategy, we will use the variable method signs to initiate two different policies. One, to tell all the drivers heading towards the sun's centroid to divert to the hospice centroid, and second, to redirect vehicles near the westward variable method sign and which are heading to the Barcelona south centroid to redirect to the Barcelona north centroid. These routes and diversions are illustrated here. With the prescribed trips, to do so, we will need to create a new policy, which will be added to the list under the strategy post-match object. Right-click on the strategy post-match and I will create a new policy. I will rename the policy to policy 2 VMS and I will click OK. So this policy will be activated with condition always. Once I rename the policy, I will go on the condition and set it to time from 8 and 10 p.m. and for a duration of 50 minutes. And I will click OK. Then I will right click on the policy / variable method sign and I will create a new destination change traffic management action. I will drag and drop to create another one and I will also create a new force turn traffic management action. So to sum up, I will create two destination change traffic management actions and one force turn. I will open the first destination change object and I will select the section that the variable method sign is installed, the section with ID 1932. So at this section where the variable method sign is installed and drivers that have a destination of the Barcelona North will be redirected to the Barcelona South, 100% of these drivers. I will rename the destination change from BCN South to BCN. And then I will apply the second destination change, traffic management action. which is related to the section of the variable method sign on the east. I will click on this section with ID 939, and it concerns drivers that have the destination SANS. These drivers will be redirected to the centroid named hospi. 100% of the drivers will follow the instructions, and then I will rename these from SANS to hospi and click OK. The next traffic management action that I should implement is the forced turn. Drivers that are traveling through the variable method sign on the section 1932 and their destination is SANS, they will be redirected to the hospi destination. How? By forcing them to follow this turn. So I will double click on the forced turn action. A dialog window pops up, and here I will select the section that this traffic management action should be applied. The destination is SANS, and I will assign 100% to follow the next section, which is 1933. I will set the visibility distance to 200 meters, and I'm done. Then I will click OK. So all drivers that are driving on this section, instead of finishing their trips in SANS, they will finish their trips to the hospi centroid. Now, to rerun the simulation, I will need to add these new policies on the experiment. So I will double click the experiment and I will activate the policy to VMS and then click OK. Now I will be able to rerun the replication reg policies. Here we can notice how the maximum virtual queue is being reduced over the time. And the result is very encouraging, as we see the number of vehicles remain in the queue reducing significantly. So once the simulation is finished, we see that around 8:50 there is no virtual queue on this section. So now all of the vehicles are able to leave the stadium, but if we notice, there are congestion problems remaining at 2 nodes. To overtake the traffic congestion problems at node 2058 and node 2040, I will need to apply some more traffic management actions. So now let's move on the exercise number 4, which is related to traffic control management actions. The current traffic control in the network is optimized for normal traffic rather than an exceptional situation like a large number of vehicles exiting a football stadium. For this reason, we need to create a new traffic control plan and a policy to cope with the extra demand. To create the new strategy, first of all, I will need to create a new control plan. So I will duplicate control PM. Once I drag and drop the control PM object on the control plans folder, a new object control PM copy will be created. I will open the duplicated control plan and rename it control PM. So in this control plan dialog, we will change signal phases for 4 nodes: 2062, 2058, 2040, and 959. So first of all, I will double click on the 2062. A new dialog will open with the node control plan information. So now I will change the phases so that they match the AM strategy in the screenshot here. To do so, you just need to click on the corresponding phase and reduce or increase its duration. So I will decrease the duration from 34 to 30 seconds. I will move the interface and then I will click on phase number 3 and I will extend it to 19 seconds and then click OK. Then I will repeat kind of the same process for the next 3 nodes. Node 2058, where I will reduce the duration of phase number 3 to 16 seconds. I will move interface right before phase number 3 and I will extend phase number 1 to 62 seconds. and then click OK. Then I will double click on the 2040 node, which is of type actuated. Here I will need first reduce phase number 1 from 20 seconds to 16 seconds, phase number 2 from 20 seconds to 14 seconds, then I will move phase number 3, I will extend phase number 4 from 18 seconds to 20 seconds, I will reduce interface number 5 from 6 seconds to 5 seconds and move it, and then I will increase phase number 6 from 14 to 23 seconds, and then I will press OK. Last, I will go at node 959, double click on it, and reduce duration of phase number 5 from 18 seconds to 14 seconds, number 4 from 6 seconds to 5 seconds, number 3 from 14 seconds to 6 seconds, and number 2 increase it by 4 seconds, and number 1 extend it to 49 seconds, and then click OK. Of course, now, for your better understanding, you need to click again each node, right-click on the node, edit control plan, and go on the control PM strategy, and check carefully what is the duration that has been extended and what is the duration of the phase that has been reduced. Now we will need to create the strategy to modify the control plan during the simulation. So I will right-click on strategy, post-match, new pol, and I will create a new policy. The new policy will be named policy 3 control, and the condition will be time 8 and 10 p.m. for 50 minutes. I will right-click on this policy and I will create a new control plan change traffic management action. I will double-click on this object and I will choose the new control plan to be implemented during the simulation, which is named control PM strategy, and click OK. Then I will reopen the experiment. I will head on the tab policies and I will activate the policy number 3 control and then click OK. Now I will rerun the simulation and see the impact of this traffic management action. We see that the parking lot is getting empty much faster than before, as there is less congestion in the network. So before it was at 8:53 that the parking lot was got empty, and now it's around 8:40 that the parking lot got empty. And of course, much less congestion throughout the network. So this new policy has helped to ease the congestion, and all vehicles left the stadium and have exited the model successfully. Of course, to compare all these results, we can create different replications and keep the results so that we can compare at a global or a local level. To finish the simulation, I always need to go on the simulation control bar and click the X button.